All right, I'm going to play a transcript, alleged, of Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy. Use your critical thinking and think about the bills that have been introduced and think about where our country is. And you tell me, do you think that this is real?
Mitch, we have to bring slavery back. Those were the good old days. Kevin, how will we do that? There's no way we can do that. Mitch, black people won't do it, but white people will.
So apparently in this hot mic conversation, they talk about slavery. They talk about bringing slavery back. Mitch McConnell says, I know black people won't do it, but white people will. He went on to say that the plan is to create religious schools where kids from the first to the fourth grade would pretty much learn to pick produce. These folks said it is better to be a slave than to be dead. And not only was this released on an educational program for kids, but the Department of Education in Florida has approved it to be a part of a curriculum for kids.
There's really something really unsettling about living in a time where progress is constantly being talked about, yet the echoes of past refuse to stay buried. You hear people speak, you watch how they move, you pay attention to the patterns, and sometimes it doesn't feel like we've moved forward as much as we claim. Because when certain statements are made, when certain attitudes are displayed over and over again, it starts to raise a serious and uncomfortable question. How far have we really come? And how much of that old mindset is still alive beneath the surface? For black people especially, history is not just something written in books. It's something felt, remembered, and carried. The weight of slavery, the brutality, the dehumanization, the idea that an entire group of human beings could be reduced to property, to labor, to something less than human. That is not ancient history. That legacy shaped generations. It built system. It influenced how people see each other each day. And so when things like this come out that feels dismissive, disregarding, or openly hostile, it doesn't land as a simple disagreement or a passing comment. It hits deeper. It triggers something older, something that people have been fighting against for centuries. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. Welcome back to Cloud Pause. I'm so happy you're here. And if you're new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section. Okay, please don't forget, all right, to meet the original creators of these videos. All right, let's get down to exactly what's happening as I play the clips so you can actually see things for yourself. All right, let's watch the clips I have arranged and have put together for you all, and then we come back and discuss about this some more. Thank you so much for always watching Cloud Pause. Let's watch and then we come back.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin here with The Truth. And today we're diving deep into this political plot twist that could very well change everything for the Trump-Vance White House and administration. So buckle up because this is about to get very, very interesting. So here's the deal. All right, here's the scoop. Mitch McConnell, the former Senate GOP leader, has just declared he's not done playing the game. Stepping down from leadership? No, not happening. Or even better yet, sure, yeah. How about retiring from playing political chess, 4D chess? No, fat chance. Not happening, not a chance. He's not out. He's not out. He's essentially just changing his playbook. He's aiming for the chair of the Senate Rules Committee. And, honestly, I think that this is also tied into a part of what we just saw happen yesterday with Matt Gaetz and Pam Bondi. All right. And at first, I wasn't 100% convinced that Trump was actually playing and manipulating Congress. Okay. But I think he is. And I think he is because he has to. Okay. Because as they play their games, he then plays his game to see how they're going to respond or react in their game. Okay. This isn't cut and dry. This isn't linear. This isn't just black and white. This isn't going to be easy. Okay. The easy part was actually, seemingly hindsight, winning the election, especially knocking out Joe Biden and then having to run against Kamala Harris. What a simple and easy and quite comical task. Okay. But let's try to break this down, and share with you guys why this is like the ultimate power move in the Senate right now. So think of the Senate Rules Committee as the rule book keeper of the Senate, basically. And they decide how the game of legislation is going to be played. Kind of like the referees in a Kansas City Chiefs game. Yeah. Okay. They can delay, they can modify, or they can flat out block. And guess who wants to be the referee now? Yeah. Mitch McConnell. Mitch, the closer McConnell. I don't know. I don't know if he's actually, is that his real nickname? The closer? It's more like a stiff. He's out here trying to block Donald Trump trying to move his policy pawns forward in this game of chess. And here's Mitch McConnell ready to change the rules right as the game is being played, right under his nose. Okay. And I'm sure Trump was aware, and his team, they knew that this was a possible obstacle that they would face. Okay.
These folks said it is better to be a slave than to be dead. And not only was this released on an educational program for kids, but the Department of Education in Florida has approved it to be a part of a curriculum for kids. And what's crazy is y'all don't even see the trajectory that this is going in. A couple of weeks ago, they released a transcript stating how they weren't going to try to get the blacks back out in the fields because they are aware that we ain't going back out in the fields. Their target has changed from blacks to little white babies.
Okay, so I got the transcripts. Mitch, we have to bring slavery back. Those were the good old days. Kevin, how will we do that? There's no way we can do that. Mitch, black people won't do it, but white people will. Kevin, how will we get white people to be slaves? That sounds ridiculous. Mitch, we have to get rid of the separation of church and state. We must have state-funded religious schools. Kevin, I don't see where you're getting at. Mitch, those schools will have work programs for 4th through 8th graders. Kevin, I think I see where you're going here. How is that going to work? Mitch, we get the kids to pick all the produce as a part of their work program to teach them the values of good old-fashioned blue-collar labor and the bounty of God. Kevin, I don't think that anyone will go for that. Mitch, it's all about grooming. Start in the 1st grade, and by 4th grade, they'll be ready to do it. Kevin, but we already have people to pick the produce. Mitch, we have to finish the wall. Kevin, no way that's going to happen. Mitch, we find better ways to get the immigrants out of the United States. Kevin, like doubling ICE. Mitch, yes. Kevin, this will be too hard, and we'll be too busy trying to sustain this over long periods of time and generations. Mitch, no, we get rid of the abortion laws in the United States and we make it mandatory that all 8th grade females be impregnated in order to graduate. Kevin, like replacing the crops. Ha ha ha, pun intended. Also, Kevin, I will work on getting the abortion banned. You work on state-funded religious schools. Mitch, we don't have to do either. Lindsay and I took care of that with the new SCOTUS.
So we're watching a ceremony to honor the families of the officers who defended the Capitol on January 6th. This is the family of Brian Sicknick. You see snubbing Republican leadership, Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, as they shake Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer's hand. And I'm not mad at them. Officer Sicknick's mother later did an interview and basically said she thought that they were two-faced. Because how dare you stand here and try to honor, her son while you have done nothing to hold the people in power accountable, particularly when you could have removed Trump when there was a second impeachment that came around, when you could have assisted Democrats in the January 6th committee in the House vis-a-vis Kevin McCarthy, when you could come out now and say something about his comments about overthrowing the Constitution. So, no, I'm not going to shake your hand, and I don't blame her. It wasn't disrespectful, it was honest.
Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, talking about bringing slavery back. But are they? Look, while we're not journalists, we're not held to ethics and honest reporting, we should still practice that. And thus far, there's no verification that this supposed conversation is true, at least according to Snopes. Now, it could turn out to be true, but it's not, so far as we know. And we should really practice being as ethical and honest as we can. We know MAGA isn't. They just literally make things up because their dear leader, who's all over the Epstein files, just makes up ridiculous shit multiple times a day. But we should hold ourselves to a higher standard. Verify, verify, verify.
So there's this alleged leaked audio transcript of a hot mic conversation between Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell. So apparently in this hot mic conversation, they talk about slavery. They talk about bringing slavery back. Mitch McConnell says, I know black people won't do it, but white people will. He went on to say that the plan is to create religious schools where kids from the first to the fourth grade would pretty much learn to pick produce. Kevin McCarthy's like, well, we already have people to pick produce. Mitch McConnell goes, well, we got to figure out how to get more people, immigrants, out of the country. All of that is wild, and it's all alleged. We can't confirm that this is, real or whatnot, but the man that's got the transcript claims this is a real conversation. But he goes on to say, we have to ban abortion in all the states and make getting pregnant by 8th grade a stipulation to graduate. Now that's very, very dystopian, right? Because what? But this is supposedly a conversation between our 150-year-old snapping turtle and the fence rider, Kevin McCarthy. The indoctrination through religion, people think affects black people more than everybody else. But actually, the indoctrination through religion affects white people way more than everybody else. So I don't know what y'all gonna do, but he's targeting poor white folk. That's who's the target. It's not people with money. It's poor white folk. That's why they're doing their best to try to cut funding to higher education. Because if they can get poor white folk to be the new slaves, their children, and we're not talking about slavery through like force, like how my ancestors had to be forced into slavery. This will be voluntary slavery. They say they are going to groom the children to enjoy blue collar labor and to see no hope beyond that. That's some wild shit. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay, so I got the transcripts. Mitch, we have to bring slavery back. Those were the good old days. Kevin, how will we do that? There's no way we can do that. Mitch, black people won't do it, but white people will. Kevin, how will we get white people to be slaves? That sounds ridiculous. Mitch, we have to get rid of the separation of church and state. We must have state-funded religious schools. Kevin, I don't see where you're getting at. Mitch, those schools will have work programs for 4th through 8th graders. Kevin, I think I see where you're going here. How is that going to work? Mitch, we get the kids to pick all the produce as a part of their work program to teach them the values of good old-fashioned blue-collar labor and the bounty of God. Kevin, I don't think that anyone will go for that. Mitch, it's all about grooming. Start in the 1st grade, and by 4th grade, they'll be ready to do it. Kevin, but we already have people to pick the produce. Mitch, we have to finish the wall. Kevin, no way that's going to happen. Mitch, we find better ways to get the immigrants out of the United States. Kevin, like doubling ICE. Mitch, yes. Kevin, this will be too hard, and we'll be too busy trying to sustain this over long periods of time and generations. Mitch, no, we get rid of the abortion laws in the United States and we make it mandatory that all 8th grade females be impregnated in order to graduate. Kevin, oh, like replacing the crops. Ha ha ha, pun intended. Also, Kevin, I will work on getting the abortion banned. You work on state-funded religious schools. Mitch, we don't have to do either. Lindsay and I took care of that with the new SCOTUS.
And if you weren't aware, that the Department of Education now has moved to the Department of Labor. So things are starting to add up. And we should all be concerned because this has to do with our children and their children's children. And this is not okay.
I've heard the leaked audio from July 2022 from Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy. I haven't been able to validate it though, so I'm not going to repost it, but it's out there. I just don't know if it's AI or if it's real. If you find out, let me know and I will put it out there.
Now, let's not even talk about the frustration that begins to boil over, because it's not just about one person or one statement, it's about patterns. It's about the repeated sense that no matter how much black people contribute, no matter how much excellence is shown, no matter how much progress is made, there are still voices that try to pull things backwards, voices that ignore the humanity, the intelligence, the creativity, and the resilience of black people. And instead of push narratives that feel rooted in control, disrespect, or outright dismissal, when people say things that sound like they are stripping away dignity, it's not surprising that others interpret it in the harshest way possible. Because history has shown what happens when people start to devalue others. It never begins with chains, it begins with words, with ideas, with normalization of disrespect. It begins with creating an environment where it becomes easier to see certain people as less than, while empathy disappears, where harmful thinking starts to feel acceptable again. And that is what people are reacting to. Not just the literal words, but what those words represent. The fear that begins certain statements lies a mindset that hasn't truly evolved. The anger that comes from feeling like the same battles are being fought over and over again, just in different forms. The exhaustion of having to constantly defend your humanity in words that claim equality but doesn't always practice it. At the same time, there is also a need to clarity and responsibility, because saying something literally wants to bring back slavery is not a small claim. It's one of the most extremist accusations that can be made, and if that's not backed by undeniable evidence, because obviously that is also important, it can take away from the real issue, which is the impact of harmful and rhetoric and behavior. The truth is, you don't have to openly call for something as extreme as if for your words to carry demanding and applicable force. You have to understand and say it directly for people to feel the weight of history is what you're saying. That's why the focus should stay in accountability, or calling out disrespect, or changing harmful narratives, and the refusal to accept anything that diminishes the dignity of black people. Because the real issue is not just about one exaggerated statement, it's about the broader pattern of behavior that needs to be addressed honestly and directly. And despite all of this, one thing remains unbreakable: black people have endured, survived, and risen in ways that history can't erase. From the honors of slavery to the struggles of segregation, from systematic barriers to everyday discrimination. And there has always been resistance, strength, and excellence. Culture has been shaped, movements have been led, barriers have been broken, and that resilience continues to matter, no matter how many times people try to question it or undermine it. Well, so when frustration spills over into strong language, into bold claims, into educational reactions, it doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from a long history of being unheard, of being misunderstood, and of being disrespected, of being told to to be patient while facing injustice. It comes from a place of wanting to protect dignity, to demand respect, and to make it clear that going backward is not an option. Because at the end of the day, this is bigger than one person, one statement, or one moment. It's about the kind of words we are building moving forward. A world where people are judged by their character and not reduced to stereotypes. A world where history is acknowledged, not ignored. A world where respect is not selective, and where no group of people ever has to feel like their place in society is being questioned again. And if there's one thing that should be absolutely clear by now, it's this: no matter what is said, no matter what narratives are pushed, no matter how much some may try to provoke or divide, Black dignity, Black history, and Black humanity are not up for debate, negotiation, or reversal. Not now, not ever. But anyways, I would really like to know what you guys think about this, because right now this whole conversation is beginning to go everywhere, and a lot of people are having different reactions to this because they are beginning to ask questions. And of course, in this kind of situation, it's understandable when people begin to ask exactly what's happening, people begin to question, or people begin to ask questions in order for them to get clarity, because this is deep, this is huge, this is something that should not just be turned a blind eye to, right? But let me know what you think in the comments, because of course, I want to know what you always think in the comment section. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section. Don't forget all rights to these clips that I have attached to this video remains to the original creators of these videos. Okay, so please do not forget to like, subscribe to this channel, and always drop your comments. All right, thanks so much for supporting and always watching. Clap pause. Thanks so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next. Bye.